and welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Natasha Martinez, and this is a daily show where we give you all the latest news in the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Kicking off our show today is Kristian Harloff.
What's going on, guys? The sickness got to John Campea, but we are the strong, and we are here today bringing you Movie Talk.
We are all very strong. Also joining us, Jon Schnepp.
That's right. No one's going to get me sick. I'm just kidding. Psych.
Also joining us, Jeremy Jahns.
I watched enough Outbreak on DVD when I was a kid. Pathogens, they don't even affect me anymore, except for the last week.
And also joining us, Mark Ellis.
I was, not surprisingly and pleasantly, not affected by the sickness this week. However, our own Cody Hall, a.k.a. Spider-Man, actually figured out who Patient Zero was. I can't reveal that information yet.
All right, starting off with our first story. Warner Brothers has released a new trailer for the upcoming Kong Skull Island. Directed by Jordan Vogt-Roberts, the film re-envisioned the King Kong story, placing it in the middle of the Vietnam War, where a team of explorers travel to an uncharted island in the Pacific, only to discover the beast himself. Kong Skull Island opens in theaters on March 10th, 2017. Kristian, what did you think about the new trailer for Kong Skull Island?
Oh, I loved it. And I'll tell you why I loved this trailer was because they established right off the bat that, hey, Natasha, how's it going? They established right off the bat that this is the good guy. This Kong is going to be the good guy, and he has to be. Look, we're going to have conflicting who you're going to root for later on the line. Is it going to be Godzilla or King Kong? They'll set that up, and then they're going to fight together. We'll figure that out in a couple of years. But when they set this up, that look, this is his home. If you drop bombs at someone's home, they're going to kick your ass, and that's exactly what happened. They show up, they're dropping all these bombs. He's smashing helicopters, and they go. I love when John C. Reilly says he pretty much keeps to himself as long as you don't mess with him. And then they start messing with him, so he's kicking ass. But then they establish who the real villains are down the line. That's what we want to see. We want to see Kong coming up to Hiddleston and Brie Larson at the end there, basically going, okay, I'm not going to eat you. I'll go kick these things ass. And you see them having this not conversation, but this moment together. I like the establishment. It's complete apocalypse now from start to finish. I loved it. I thought it was great, and I'm really looking forward to it. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought it was great, too, and that's a good point, because Godzilla saved San Francisco in Godzilla. King Kong's going to do something to save these guys here. We're going to like both. We won't know who to root for. It's going to be like an MMA match where you really don't have a dog in the fight. You're like, I'm here to see the fight, but I don't want to root against anybody. They've all done good for America. We all love them, but you do also raise a good point, which I did film a trailer review that I haven't uploaded yet, so I almost want to keep it vague, but that's a really good point about the fact that it's like, he's not a dick. He's a good dude. Right. You guys just started shitting in his backyard, and now he's pissed.
Yeah. Mark?
I know who I'm rooting for when King Kong tangles with Godzilla, and my boy is back and better than ever. I'm so excited to see this version of Kong Skull Island. I did get a little bit of a Pete's Dragon tinge from this trailer. You know, it's like this beast is in the wild having a great time walking around, not hurting anybody. Nobody's hurting him. And then all of a sudden, what happens? Humans. God, we ruin everything. We ruin everything, and now we're going to go to Skull Island and ruin that too. Hopefully we get a few good ones. It looks like we have that in Brie Larson and Tom Hiddleston. But the only concern I had watching this trailer was when John C. Reilly shows up. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, boy, is this going to be zany comedy time? Does he make bunk beds with Will Ferrell in a scene here? And then, thankfully, the rest of his lines illuminated me to the fact that, no, this guy's a little kooky. He reminded me of Lawrence Fishburne in the new Predators movie, which I know divided some people. I like the role in that, and I think I'm going to like John C. Reilly here.
Yeah, John C. Reilly, when he showed up, it made me nervous, but then it kind of toned back. Just about
then you realize he's playing the Dennis Hopper character from Apocalypse. And I was like, you don't see Kong, do you? You don't see. You got to get in Kong's mind, man. You know, so that he's definitely the comedy relief. But I like when he mentioned the skull hunters or whatever the Godzilla creatures are that are coming up, the lizard creatures.
Right.
So I think we're going to see Kong fighting whatever those bipedal weirdo lizard creatures are. I love the trailer. I just keep expecting Tom Holland to show up because they got everybody else from Marvel. It's like Captain Marvel, Nick Fury, Loki. You got John C. Reilly from the Nova Corps. I mean, who else from Marvel's going to show up?
Kong would be like the kind of Hulkish.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah. You're absolutely right. This is a Marvel mashup right here, but on Skull Island.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
We've got some possible new details about Star Wars Episode VIII. MakingStarWars.net has tracked down some potential character information, so for all of you who'd rather go into the movie knowing nothing about the film, consider this your spoiler warning. If you're still with us, the outlet is reporting that Benicio del Toro's character is being described as a classic man in black who will wear an all-black costume and is considered dangerous. The report suggests that he may not be a clear-cut villain. Laura Dern's character is said to be an aristocrat and in a fancy way that we've never seen in a Star Wars film before. Apparently, her look will be something along the lines of Hunger Games meets Star Wars. Mark, thoughts on the new character details for Star Wars Episode VIII?
Well, I'm not that surprised, Natasha, but as I said in the Collider News vid yesterday, anytime we're talking about Star Wars, whether it's a Star Wars movie I've seen or one that I have not seen, I get excited to do so. The Benicio del Toro thing is the interesting angle to me, because Laura Dern, we expected her to be somewhat of a Politico. The Hunger Games hairdressing costume element intrigues me. But with Benicio del Toro, as a man in black, who's not necessarily a bad guy, by his own mouth, he came out and said, oh yeah, I'm going to be a villain, and then he backtracked a little bit, and we're like, wait a minute. Is that Disney asking him to not be so forward with who his character might be, or is it that he's a little more mysterious than we gave him credit for?
Oh, no, that's not how I read it. I read it that he is a real bad guy, but the fact that people think that he is not. Like, he's playing both sides.
Oh, absolutely. I believe he's going to be a villain, but the fact that he's approaching this as even not a Lando Calrissian in the form of he's eventually going to turn good, but as somebody, when we meet him, we have no idea as the audience who the hell this guy is. He appears to be neutral, but there's going to be dark tidings. At least I believe.
You think he's going to? Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I just think he's going to be the guy that if there's one guy that's really going to either be a Sith Lord or close to it, it's going to be Benicio del Toro, that where he's doing basically what Palpatine did in the prequels, where he's playing both sides and you think he's the good guy. That's what they do. That's what they do so well. So I think that that's exactly what Benicio del Toro is going to be doing. The Laura Dern thing, yeah, we've been talking on Jedi Council how we think that she's going to be in politics and be probably on the other side of Leia. And if you read Bloodline, which they certainly set up both sides and how the opposing view of Leia, I assume she's going to be on the opposing view. But it's that Hunger Games thing that is interesting to me, because when Lawrence Kasdan talked about Rian Johnson's version, he's like, it's different, it's weird, it's cool. And I want to see a Rian Johnson, just the imagery of how he portrays all this stuff. So that's, out of all the ones that I heard about, to me, because it starts to paint a different picture. How'd you feel about it?
I liked them comparing it a little bit to Lando from Empire Strikes Back, but maybe like flipping the role. Like maybe he starts out as a villain and maybe becomes more of a good guy. Whereas, I mean, you know, Han knew Lando and then he double-crossed him. I feel like there could be a double cross with the Empire instead.
Jeremy?
Now, the interesting thing is I get why the studio made him pull back, because if you're supposed to go into this movie without a stigma in your head as to whether or not good or evil is Benicio del Toro, I totally get it, and I really like that. Now, my question is, and maybe you can sum this up for me, Kristian, the rule of two, that was a Sith thing. Do Snoke and Kylo Ren follow that rule of two?
I mean, it hasn't been established, but I would assume no, because they're not Sith.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And so the interesting thing is this guy going to be another follower of Snoke? Is he going to be a follower of Snoke that kind of broke away from Snoke? It's like, I can do it better. And is he going to be a third party who is talking with Luke like, look, man, I know you don't like me, but I'm better than that dude. So if you want to help me out,
my enemy,
right, is my friend,
right, friend. And it could get a little more complicated than just the rule of two. I think Pablo Hidalgo even came out and said that Snoke is not a Sith Lord.
Right, he's not.
So it maybe Benicio del Toro is that Sith Lord. Maybe he is just a casino owner. Maybe he's in a Johnny Cash cover band. We know nothing about that, and I like it.
What if he's one of the Ren dudes? What are those guys called?
The Knights of Ren.
What if he's one of the Knights of Ren?
Yeah, one of the Knights of Ren that broke off. Is like, I can do it better too.
It could be like the lead. We'll see.
Yeah.
And then the Kelly Marie Tran one, you know, I think that she's probably going to be Finn's love interest, is what it seems.
And also, it's nice to give Finn a spin-off story, so we're not like, oh, well, okay, we know what Rey's going to be going up against in Episode 8. What is going to be going on with Finn? It gives it a nice counter story.
Yeah, Finn just has that Friend Zone song going on his head, and then she shows up.
If they underuse John Boyega, that would be criminal.
Yeah, they're
straight
not.
up criminal.
Nah, he's going to have a
We
big
don't know
part.
that much from these reports, so I guess we're going to have to see the movie.
Yeah. All right. Well, now it's time for opening this week, brought to you by our friends at AMC Theaters. The movies that are coming out this week, Natasha, are what?
We have Edge of 17 coming out. Everyone knows that growing up is really hard and life is no no easier for high school junior Nadine, played by Haley Steinfeld, who was already at peak awkwardness when her all-star older brother Darian, played by Blake Jenner, starts dating her best friend Krista, played by Haley Lou Richardson. When an unexpected friendship with a thoughtful teen gives her a glimmer of hope, Nadine realizes things just might not be so terrible after all. Bleed for This is also coming out. Vinny the Tasmanian Devil Pazienza, played by Miles Teller, a local Providence boxer, shoots to stardom after winning 2 world title fights. After a near-fatal car accident leaves him with a broken neck, he is told he may never walk again. Against all odds and doctor's orders, renowned trainer Kevin Rooney, played by Aaron Eckhart, agrees to help Vinny return to the ring just a year after the accident for what could be the last fight of his life.
Look, 2 months ago, and I'm easily picking Bleed for This because I'm a boxing fan. Boxing movies. I'm always a sucker for. I seem to be the only one who loved Southpaw. But when I heard, remember when we were on AMC like a year and a half, 2 years ago, we talked about this Bleed for This, and whether it's Mark Wahlberg or Jake Gyllenhaal or Robert De Niro, boxing movies have done wonders for their careers. And when I heard that Miles Teller was going to be Pazienza, I said, that could work. And everything I've seen so far, the trailers, I really enjoy. So that would have been my first choice right off the bat. But then I saw the trailer for Edge of 17, the Red Band trailer, and it's funny. That trailer is funny. It ends really well, and I hope that it's a movie that doesn't ruin all of the jokes in the trailer. But when it gave me confidence in the movie from the way that it set it up, and it ended so strong on that last joke because it just seemed like, okay, and then when the last words come out of Woody Harrelson's mouth, you're like, wow, that's the type of teacher he is. That's the character, and that's the kind of role I want to see Woody Harrelson doing. So I'm kind of torn. I could go and see either one of these and be okay. I want to see a good comedy, so I might go check out Edge of 17. But Jeremy, how about you?
I'm gonna go for Bleed for This because I agree with you on Edge of 17. I didn't know anything about the movie. I didn't care. It was just going under my radar. And then a trailer comes on TV, and I'm like, wait a minute, because they're talking about it's like the next Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and John Hughes would be proud of it. And so, but I love movies that show the human spirit of someone who's like, you're never going to walk again. Your career's over. It's done. And they're just like, no, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to power through this. I'm going to work out. I'm going to come back. I'm going to be a boxer. I'm going to have my career as if that detrimentally destructive event in my life never happened. And there's something about that. If that movie hits and Edge of 17 hits exactly what they're supposed to do, Bleed for This will have a better reaction out of me. I just love those positive movies.
But Bleed for This was never a Stevie Nicks song. Edge of 17 was, and it's one of her better hits, and I'm going to take that movie as well, simply because I feel like we've seen this boxing movie before. Even though it's based on a true story, whereas Southpaw wasn't, I've been through these beats, and as much as I want to see Miles Teller go for an Oscar in this film, I think I'd rather watch like a documentary on the actual guy going through this as opposed to the film adaptation of it. Edge of 17 it's not whether you prefer boxing movies or coming-of-age movies. It's what you feel we've gotten more of recently. And after seeing all the Creeds and the Southpaws, I think I'm ready for a different kind of coming-of-age film. I don't think I've gotten a great one since the one where Emma Watson made that kid a milkshake. Person being a wallflower.
Oh, yeah. It's a really good movie.
Yeah.
Schnepp?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Edge of 17, just edging it out a little bit because Haley Steinfeld, for me, ever since True Grit, I've been watching her career, and this looks like this is going to be the one that's going to turn her into a real star. Woody Harrelson, once again, can do no wrong. If you haven't seen the trailer for Wilson, this guy just keeps picking amazing, different films to be in. He's such an amazing actor. So for me, that star power and the comedy wins out.
And what's the one that Haley Steinfeld was in with Mark Ruffalo and Keira Knightley about the band and Adam...
Oh yeah, Begin Again.
Begin
like
Again.
That? Yeah.
That's another one. She is really good. So and she looked like she can carry off comedies. I didn't love Pitch Perfect 2 in general, so I don't blame her for that. But this looks like something.
It's tough. You put me on the spot like that. Thank God I'm good at movie.
You're pretty good. You're pretty good. Let's hope it pays off at the Spectacular. All right. What's next? Actually, you know what? It's time for Buy or Sell. I remembered what's next. This is Buy or Sell. It's going to be pretty easy. Natasha's going to read off some more topics in the world of movie news, and the table here is going to buy or sell it. What's up first?
Okay, according to Deadline, Forrest Whitaker is set to star alongside Johnny Depp in Labyrinth, the Brad Furman-directed drama about the investigation into the murders of Tupac Shakur and Notorious B.I.G. Depp will play a disgraced LAPD detective who is unable to solve the case of the murdered hip-hop icons, with Whitaker playing the journalist who teams with him to help determine the truth. A release date for the movie has not been set. Jeremy, buy or sell Forrest Whitaker joining Johnny Depp in Labyrinth?
That whole thing is a buy for me. That's fascinating. I just like all of that. This is great. The fact that Johnny Depp is playing an investigator, first of all, I don't see him becoming a cartoon. And that's a good buy for me. The fact that it's the investigation between Notorious B.I.G. and Tupac's deaths, that's a buy for me. And then you have Forrest Whitaker. That's also a buy for me. The situation and the actors coming together, huge buy.
Yeah, Forrest Whitaker seems to add a lot of buy power to any of these stories for sure. But what I like about Forrest Whitaker recently is we're hearing his name a lot more. He's getting back. It's not that he hasn't been around, but his name hasn't been in the spotlight as much as it is right now. Obviously, Rogue One being a big helper in that, but just he's everywhere right now, and it's great because he really helps projects. I mean, even that horrible ass Taken 3 or whatever it was too. He was the best part of that because it's Forrest Whitaker. But you hit on the point that it just makes me realize, okay, we're going to see that Johnny Depp that we've been hoping for. No silly mask. Oh my God, like all that kind of stuff. Just stop doing that silliness.
How do you know he's not? What if he has an eye patch and half a shave? I'm Detective Scribbles. Let me find out what happened.
He's actually the investigator from the Kevin Spacey movie, right?
Yeah.
Who killed Tupac? We must find out.
My nose keeps turning. My nose keeps.
This is a ruse. This is actually Mordecai 2, and it's coming.
The monocle, right? It's like, I'll find out who killed Biggie.
LAbyrinth. That's how you're supposed to say it.
Unbelievable. No, but I think that we should actually, it's going to be more the Donnie Brasco, Johnny Depp. That's what I'm hoping to get here. I think that we're going to get that. That's a powerhouse team of normal Johnny Depp, as normal as he can be, with Forrest Whitaker, I think is a good combination. So for that and the story, because we know that it's still unsolved. We still don't know what the hell happened, but to see how close they got, that is fascinating to me. So it's a buy.
Yeah, I totally sell y'all's movie of Detective Scribble Scrump and looking for the Tupac killer. I will totally buy this. And I like the nickname for Forrest Whitaker that Kristian gave him. Forrest by Power Whitaker. Yeah. That's who he should be. And Johnny Depp is great. We like him sometimes in those zany roles. He's knocked a few of those out of the stadium. We can admit that. But I think Johnny Depp is like a helium balloon where you need somebody holding on to him. You need somebody grounding him. You don't want him to fly out there. And Forrest Whitaker is the guy who is grounding that. What do we always say about Forrest Whitaker, whether it's in Rogue One or a crap box like Taken 3? He grounds the action. He makes it feel more real. Him lending that ability in this movie seems like a perfect fit.
Yeah, Forrest Whitaker just got cast in Black Panther. I don't care whether he's got the full hair or the bald head. He's in Rogue One. We don't know which version is going to show up. But yeah, casting him against Depp definitely makes me more interested in seeing the film. And I don't have anything against Depp. I think he's a great actor. It's just, yeah, he gets too cartoony, and then it kind of ruins the role. So I loved him in Black Mass. I hope he's bringing it back and doing some kind of more of a realistic character in this. And I'd love to see, you know, this version of whatever the tale they're telling about the murders. So,
all right, what's next?
For fans hoping to get a sequel to Fede Alvarez's Don't Breathe, prepare to get excited. Speaking with Coming Soon about the film's Blu-ray release, Alvarez revealed that there will be a sequel to Don't Breathe and that a story is already set and in the works. Talking about the proposed sequel, Alvarez said, "We just started, but we know exactly where it goes, but we won't tell you right now. But there will be more Don't Breathe for sure. Schnepp, buy or sell a sequel to Don't Breathe."
I buy it, man. I absolutely loved Don't Breathe. It was one of the greatest horror films of 2016, besides the rest of the horror of 2016. At least this movie was what it was supposed to be, a really good horror film. And Fede Alvarez, I'm glad he's returning. I hope he returns to direct it as well, because, I mean, the chops that he displayed were incredible, just from Evil Dead to this. I can't wait to see what he does next.
It's a huge buy because the movie cost $10 million to make. It made $150 million. Of course it's going to have a sequel. And also Sam Raimi said they were having a lunch for Don't Breathe that both Clark Wolf and Copster went to, and Sam Raimi said it is one of the best sequel ideas that I've ever heard. That's encouraging. Fede Alvarez right now obviously invested in this material, and if they can do the same thing and try to get the same magic that they did with the first one, of course they're going to try to. I just don't want them to do Don't Breathe 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If you have 2 or 3 stories, get it until it's done, and then end it nicely. Be Jordan, hit that shot, walk off the court. You know, that's exactly what I want to see them do for this. But a sequel, it makes a lot of sense. Jeremy?
Yeah, don't take in this thing. I can tell you that. Yeah. The first one was great. Just don't taking us out. But yeah, it's a huge buy for me too, because I mean, Don't Breathe was one of the more intense films that I had seen in 2016. And if they can bring that and it being a sequel, because you knew a sequel was going to happen, is it a revenge tale? And if so, is this blind guy going to find, like, you know, like, I'd like to see how they do it. And if they can pull that off in a realistic way that makes me feel unsafe, it's like, dude, if a blind guy could find you, no one's safe. No one's safe at all. I want to feel that. I want to feel like that I'm not safe feeling that we felt in his house. I want to feel it in my house now. So yeah, huge buy.
Mark?
Oh, huge buy. Don't breathe, never go back. That's our sequel name, kids.
right.
Jack
Alvarez,
Reacher going to show up?
If Jack Reacher shows up, I would love for the blind guy to kill Jack Reacher. I think that'd be
no
great
more
to end it
sequels
once
for that
and
movie.
all. And without giving away anything in Don't Breathe, I think that the universe that they set up, I think that it lends itself to more storytelling. It is a horror movie. It costs very little to make. It made a lot of money. If the sequel does that, sorry, Kristian, it is going to be like Jordan hitting that last shot, and it's going to come back and play for the Wizards eventually.
Yeah.
We know this to be true, and that's fine with me. But I think the second one, if Betty Alvarez is saying it's one of the best sequel ideas he's ever heard.
No, Raimi said that.
Raimi said
about-
that.
about-
Sam Raimi's
Yeah,
another guy
right.
I trust. Either
Right.
one of those guys, they tell me it's a good story, I'm going to buy the hell out of it.
All right, what's next?
Back in 2014, Screen Gems announced development on a movie adaptation of the immensely popular video game The Last of Us. Later that year, director and screenwriter Neil Druckmann took the stage at San Diego Comic-Con and said there was significant progress being made. Now, 2 years later, production still isn't underway, and that's because of alleged creative differences between Sony and Druckmann. Here's what producer Sam Raimi told IGN about the status of the project. I think Neil's plan for it, I'm not trying to be political, Neil's plan for it is not the same as Sony's, and because my company doesn't have the rights, I actually can't help him too much. They don't want to move forward, and it's not my place to say why, and Neil, I think, is in a slight disagreement with them about how things should go. So there's a standstill, and I don't have the power to move it. Jeremy, buy or sell The Last of Us adaptation eventually making it to the big screen?
This is one of those things. I think it was either yesterday or the day before. I'm on here like, video game movies, I'm not even looking forward to them whatsoever. It's kind of like, I feel like someone who has had a slew of very bad relationships, and you're like, you know what, I'm single forever. And then that person comes along where you're like, yeah, I want to give that I want to give her a shot. I really, okay. I buy that The Last of Us could be made to be great. I really do. I mean, I saw the Logan trailer, and it was a thing where I'm like, oh my gosh, that feels so much like how The Last of Us should feel if we ever get a trailer for The Last of Us, if The Last of Us ever gets made. I want to love it. I want to like it. It's a personal story that they can keep in the pocket. It's not too grand in scope. You don't have like 100 side arcs that you need to do. You can keep it as one movie. It could be great. I want to love it. I'm going to go back on my word 2 days ago and buy it.
Yeah, I understand, and I get the optimism because
Right.
I stopped playing video games for a while when I got married and had a kid. It's tough. But what I did do
Nerd.
is, yeah, I'm telling you though, what I did do for my birthday this year, I went out, I got a bunch of cards, Best Buy cards, and I bought a bunch of video games that I probably never play, but I want to, and I put them all in the office, and Last of Us was one of them because I heard so many great things from you, from other people, and I want to play this story, but I want to see this story on the big screen. I'm going to sell it for now. Mm-hmm. However, if Assassin's Creed comes out and crushes at the box office, which is going to be tough to do, but if it crushes at the box office and everyone says this is the best video game movie of all time, they changed the game, then you can bet your ass that they're going to figure out a way to make this work. But I don't know if Assassin's Creed is going to have that monumental moment of really turning it on their head, because you got Rogue One coming out right afterwards too. It's got there's so much pressure unfairly on Assassin's Creed right now.
Right.
And so I'm going to sell it right now because I just don't think that they're going to be able to forego these differences anytime soon. Schnepp, how do you feel?
I'm going to buy it. I mean, when Last of Us came out as a video game, everyone was telling me, I didn't play it, but everyone was telling me, you got to play this. It's like a movie. It's like you feel like you're watching a movie, you're playing a movie. I saw The Girl with All the Gifts, which is a European zombie movie that has a lot of the same elements where it's like, a mushroom-style plague. It's very plant-based is what causes the zombies. So, I mean, and I love The Girl with All the Gifts. If you haven't heard of that, check that out. It's not available yet here in the U.S., but for me, I'd love to see this turned into a movie because just of everything I've read about it.
So are we buying that it never is going to be a movie? Is it?
I think so. I think let's put a cap on it. Let's say within the next 5 years.
Within 5 years.
I buy that it will be a movie.
You say you buy.
Yeah, I buy that I want it to be a movie.
And I'll be the negative Nancy and say sell.
I will buy that Jeremy wants to buy it being a movie. I will sell Kristian's decision to get a wife and kid over playing video games.
Sorry.
Whoever does that.
When was the last time you played a video game?
Tetris, baby. Best that's ever lived at it. B-type
Hey,
music.
hang on a second, Ellis. There's a challenge coming.
Don't do it, man.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
I'm
I
challenged.
honestly,
Jeremy's seen it.
when I would crash on this guy's couch, in his living room. I have never seen a Tetris player as good as Mark Ellis.
He's
It's
the best there is.
fucking crazy.
Ellis, I'm challenging you. Tetris one-on-one.
Try to be humble until you wake up the beast. And if you want to come and drop bombs on Skull Island,
Baby carrots just got bombed, son.
You're embarrassing yourself here.
As far as The Last of Us, I am going to say that I'm gonna buy it being some sort of content at some point in the future. What I really would love to know is what are these creative differences between Sony and Neil. If it comes down to a budgetary decision, I think that might be where it's like I have this idea for a $150 million video game movie. I don't think we're going to see that happen for a while, regardless of how well Assassin's Creed does. I'm starting to get a little nervous about that.
Yeah.
It not only has to be a box office success, it has to be a critical success for more video game movies to start rolling in, and I don't think you're going to get the budgets. Can you make this movie? Do you think you can make this movie for $20 million and be faithful to the video game?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough to do.
It's a tough one.
All right, Natasha, please tell us what's next.
All right. Deadline reports that David Guion and Michael Handelman have been set to script a feature film based on Sesame Street for Warner Brothers Studios. Yay. The team will first start with the treatment as the studio figures out a narrative angle for a family-type film that can possibly set up a new franchise. No release date has been set. Kristian, buy or sell a Sesame Street movie?
Yeah, I buy it. Look, they've done it before, and I remember the one in 1985. It was the Big Bird on the Road story, and I remember watching it as a kid, and I will tell you that it's also, and I've said this many times over the last couple of weeks, I look forward to movies that I know I can take my daughter to. As she gets older, there's certain movies I'm going to want to take her to, and this is absolutely one of them. Very much like the Peanuts, to where it was something that I grew up with, and Sesame Street is something I grew up with, and it's still going strong, and they moved, and it makes sense that Warner Brothers is doing it because HBO now, a company of Warner Brothers, and then you have the fact that Sesame Street just moved to HBO. It makes sense that that's who's going to release it, but I want to see now. They haven't released a Sesame Street movie in a long time. It was the 1999 was the last time they released a Sesame Street movie. So I think that 15 years, 16 years later, yeah, why not? Let's see Big Bird. Let's see the company. Let's see everybody and how they're going to do it in today's cinema. I think it makes a lot of sense, and it's a feel-good movie. I mean, you'll feel like a kid again, bringing your kids to it, or you want to be the creepy guy in the theater by yourself with the popcorn. You can do that too. So yeah, it's a big buy.
Don't
Absolutely.
do that last. That is
I'm gonna
so
buy
creepy.
it.
Right.
That's so creepy.
Anybody seen Elmo? Mark?
I'm totally buying this thing, man. Hey, I just play the role that the guy gives me, okay? I'm going to buy Sesame Street for no other reason. Look at what the Muppets did, man. They brought the Muppets back out of retirement, and they made boatloads of cash. I think the count is going to be like $300, $400, $500 million for Sesame Street. It's going to make a crap ton of money. It's going to be very popular amongst adults, amongst kids, and amongst creepy uncles.
Schnepp, you want to be Oscar the Grouch?
Yes, I don't know who that character is. I buy it.
Or sell it.
I love Sesame Street. I love Big Bird. I love Grover. I love the Cookie Monster. Even though the cookies never go in, he just chews them and they fly
crumbles around his
away.
mouth, right?
I like watching the crumbs fall to the floor.
Stop. Do not ruin Cookie Monster, Mark. Please. That is all I ask of you.
Cookies.
Near? Near?
I buy this.
No.
Bunch of creeps at this table. All right, Jeremy?
I promise you this: John Campea has never taken another day off after today. That's one thing I can buy right there.
It's a monkey. Who needs a monkey? Am I right? I mean, who needs a monkey? What the hell's going on here?
I will say two things. One, I do buy this. Two, it is the worst is when you're a reviewer and you don't get into the screening and you have to go watch it with the public and you're just one person like, I'll take one for Sesame Street, please. just one for Sesame Street.
I'd like to hear from the ladies here. So this,
I wasn't done.
You weren't done.
No, I wasn't
Sorry,
done.
go
I
ahead.
was just saying, like, I'm going to buy it for the same fact that, I'm emulating what you guys say. It is, it's the Muppet movie did what it did. It'll be like a more family-friendly version of the Muppet movie, but it is always good to have something that's positive, that takes adults back, that they can take their families to and go, you know what, we don't have to see all the, all the craziness and or maybe the DC movies or the Marvel movies are a bit too intense for my kids. Here we go, Sesame Street. They could have a good meta adventure with some of that meta humor that gets adults hooked with some of the lovely stuff that kids love. So I'm buying it.
But that's a great point, though, too, because you need a balance like that, because you got Sing coming out and Moana and stuff, too. But there's the more variety for the family movies, the better. And what better feel good than Sesame Street? But I wanted to talk to Wendy and Natasha. How do you guys feel about Sesame Street movie? Is it a good thing?
Well, I mean, if by the time it actually comes out and you guys don't ruin it for me with all the creepy laughs, I buy it just because obviously, like, you could probably tell that I would like a Sesame Street movie. I think it's cute. I love Cookie Monster, so never ruin him again. And Bert and Ernie, I mean, come on, there's so many classic characters that will be fun to see, like, as I'm older, and maybe they'll put some, like, hidden jokes in there that are good for, like, the parents. So, I don't know. I'm looking forward to it.
Ms. Wendy?
Yeah, I totally buy it. I think Sesame Street is kind of a property that's evergreen, and Snuffleupagus for the win.
Yeah, very nice.
Snuffleupagus for the win.
All right, what's
I love Snuffleupagus.
Remind me of the good old Snuffy. You know,
Snuff is a
we call
great
you
guy.
Snuffy?
He takes giant rainbow poops.
All right, let's go. All
Tell
right.
me more about these rainbow poops.
All right, let's pass on the rainbow poops and get to our last buy or sell topic.
Oh my god. Okay. Warner Brothers Japan has released the first trailer for the upcoming live-action Fullmetal Alchemist. The film tells the story of two alchemist brothers who go on a quest for the Philosopher's Stone after an attempt to revive their dead mother goes horribly wrong. Based on the manga series, Fullmetal Alchemist was published over 9 years from 2001 to 2010 and has been adapted into 2 anime series. The film is set for release in Japan in 2017, but there's no official release date set for North America at this time. Schnepp, buy or sell the trailer for Fullmetal Alchemist?
I buy it. I mean, I think this is a really cool anime series, and I love the whole idea behind all the alchemy rules type of thing, and how one of the brothers is encased in this really badass kind of like Iron Man meets the Thing armor, which I actually have as a crazy action figure toy, whatever you want to call it. It's not a movable figure. I guess it's a statue. Whatever it's called, I've got one, and I buy this.
Okay, I'm definitely buying this, and I'll tell you, the fact that this is a manga that is actually now turned into a live action, it's got a wide release from Warner Brothers, and it's got an all Japanese cast.
Right.
So this is where the challenge comes into the audience. Go and see the movie. Support the movie. Go and check it out. If you just, I don't know who's in this movie, I'm not going to go see it. This is how you get away from the whitewashing that everyone's been complaining about. The fact that this is an all Japanese cast. Go and see the movie if this type of material actually, you know, speaks to you. If this is something that you want to see, if you want to see Ghost in the Shell, if you want to see these types of movies, go see this one, because this is taking exactly what everyone's complaining about that didn't happen in Ghost in the Shell. This is happening. So I'm very curious because it looked interesting to me. I'm not going to pretend I knew what the material was. I didn't. I was like, well, what the hell is this? And I read a little bit more about it. Sounds very interesting. I like the fact that they put the all-Japanese cast in, so I'm going to check that out. But how do you feel about it?
Yeah, so absolutely. It's you speak with your wallet in the cinematic world. If it's something you don't like, don't go watch it. If it's something you do like and you do want to support and you want to see it more, go watch it. And that is the first thing I noticed too when I was watching the trailers, just Japanese text. And I was like, oh, this is oh my god, there's like Japanese actors from a Japanese manga in a Japanese movie. And so exactly, they went against the whitewashing thing, and so now it is about what people want. Also, if you want that Last of Us movie, you got to go see Assassin's Creed, apparently. That's what I learned today.
Mark?
Yeah, I'll buy the first trailer of it. I mean, we didn't get that much of a look at it. It's barely 30 seconds long, and so you don't get a lot of the story of what's going on, but there were some neat-looking visuals, and with the international market as shrunk as it is, because there's movies that get made in America that don't do that well in America, but overseas they crush, hopefully the same thing can start to happen where movies come into America, and instead of us remaking them, you actually just get to release that original film widely, and it does well, so I'd be interested to see how this does.
All right, guys, make sure we're going to take your live Twitter questions. Make sure you submit over to @ColliderVideo, and Natasha will go through those and pick out a few at the end of the show. But before we get to mailbag, as we have been doing in the last couple of weeks, we have a brand new series called Collider Crash Course, where we kind of give a certain look into something that maybe you don't know, maybe whether it's about Snoke not being Boba Fett, or whether it's about Newt Scamander. This week's is very, very interesting to me. I know it was interesting to the crew here. It's all about the Oscar nominees and how they are chosen. It's very, very informational. It's something that's very entertaining, and I implore you guys, go and check it out. But here is that piece.
The Best Picture nominee.
Oh, how's that get nominated? What about the Lego movie? I mean, who even picks these things?
Well, Josh, it's a complicated process, but Collider Crash Course is here to explain it for you.
Who are you?
Some guy. The Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences is made up of around 7,000 filmmakers and film professionals. The organization itself is divided up into 17 specific branches. There's a branch for actors, a branch for directors, one for editors, so on and so forth. I'm sure the lighting guys get one too. Nominees for each category are selected by votes from members of these specific branches. For example, only actors get to select the nominees for the acting categories, and only directors get to select the nominees for the Best Director category. In other words, you only have fellow directors to blame for that Ben Affleck snub, not the Academy at large. For almost every category, a voting member submits a list of no more than 5 nominees for his or her individual ballot. However, Best Picture is different because it's Best Picture. With that one, everyone gets to vote, and each voting member must submit a list of between 5 and 10 nominees. That's a lot of homework. So now, how exactly do we turn all these ballots into nominations? Well, it involves math, so get ready for this. When submitting a list of preferred nominees, Academy members rank them according to preference. The nomination ballots are initially sorted based on the voters' first place ranking. Got it? So if a potential nominee scores enough first place votes, sometimes called the magic number, it becomes an official nominee and you win the National League West. This magic number is reached by taking the total number of ballots received per category and dividing it by the total number of possible nominees plus 1. Told you there's math. If a selection receives this magic number of votes or more, it becomes a nominee. For example, say the magic number is 333 and Leonardo DiCaprio wins 337 Best Actor #1 votes for having sex with a bear. In this case, he automatically becomes a nominee. But now, what happens to everyone's second, third, fourth, and fifth place choices? After the first pass, the accountants, nope, not that accountant, real PricewaterhouseCoopers accountants sort through the remaining ballots, tough job, and remove the stack with the fewest votes. Let's use Adam Sandler as an example. No, really, let's use Adam Sandler as an example. Say Adam Sandler's performance in Grown Ups 2 received the fewest first place votes, 2, and that would be the case. That means he didn't hit the magic number, and those ballots are redistributed according to their second place choices. So say one of those ballots has Forrest Whitaker at number 2, and the other one is Ryan Gosling at number 2. Tough choices. This means the Forrest Whitaker pile gets another ballot, and the Ryan Gosling pile gets another ballot. If either of those actors hit the magic number after this process, great, they get a nomination. Now let's say Tyler Perry has the second smallest pile with just 3 #1 votes. A travesty, really. Those ballots are then reassessed according to their number 2 pick. Daniel Day-Lewis is number 2 on one, so there's another ballot for his pile. Matt Damon is number 2 on another one, so he gets one as well. What happens if Adam Sandler is number 2 on the third? It could happen. He's already been eliminated, so then we move on to the number 3 spot on that ballot. Eddie Redmayne! Congratulations, Eddie! Now Eddie Redmayne's pile gets another ballot. The ballots continue to be redistributed in this manner until we have our 5 nominees. Still with me? Good. Once all the ballots have been tabulated and the nominees are named, new ballots are sent out to every Academy member. After the nominees have been chosen by that category's experts, everyone gets to vote on every category. So after the final list of nominations is announced, Brie Larson gets to vote for not only Best Actress, but also for all the other categories. I hope she saw every movie. So while the nomination process is shepherded by experts in every category, the final winners are chosen by the esteemed members of the entire Academy.
All right, well, there you go. That is Crash Course. And if you guys enjoyed that, go and check out the entire playlist in the top of this channel. You can see it. There's a lot of cool videos there. Go leave a comment. What do you want to see a Crash Course on? Let your voices be heard. That's where we're going to pull from your comments. So make sure you go and check that out. Also, today, 5 o'clock, Collider Jedi Council. It'll be myself, Ken Knapsack, Mark Ellis, and Perry Nemiroff as we talk all things Star Wars, and we'll talk a little bit more about the new novel Catalyst. I sat down and I talked to James Lucino, who wrote that novel, and so we will put a little of that on there, and then the interview will drop a little later today. Also, make sure that you check Collider videos throughout the day for breaking news, and for all you Schmodown fans, tomorrow there's no singles match, but we're going to be doing, because a lot of people have been asking about, like, how do the rankings work? How do we know who's the top contenders in teams and singles? Myself and Mark, we're going to sit down, we're going to do a whole ranking special, and then we'll be back on Tuesday when the Wangers play the Mega Powers. All right, now it's time for mailbag. So you guys have been submitting some questions. We have been going through said questions, and we got a couple today. Natasha, what's up first?
Brandon writes, "Hey Collider Squad, so in this new era of comic book movies that are mostly dominated by MCU movies, as well as their success versus Batman v Superman, has there been a change of the typical iconic comic book movie character? characters. Superman and Batman were the top 2 characters, but for the younger generation, I've seen Iron Man and Captain America top them. I'm not sure about Iron Man beating Batman, but I've seen more kids with Captain America costumes on than Superman, and Cap's movies have been better than the recent Superman movies. What are your thoughts on this?
I think the Captain America comparison with Superman is actually a really good one, because I think even though they tried to change Superman up a little bit in the newer versions, and I actually really like Man of Steel, but I think that Captain America was a big risk, because when they said how the hell are they going to do a Captain America movie with a guy in the red, white, and blue suit running around today, and they didn't. They put in a period piece and they introduced him in such a way, and we've seen throughout the movies that he's a good guy. He's still a bit of a Boy Scout, but he's got a lot of dilemmas and issues and things he's got to deal with, and I think that Chris Evans has brought such a great thing to him that I can understand that. I think that he's also been in a lot more movies in this version of Superman, so there's a lot more investment, I think, too. Batman's Batman. I don't know if Batman's gonna. They're such different characters, Batman and Iron Man, because Iron Man always has that bit of swarminess, and Bruce Wayne certainly has that at times too. But there's a difference, and Batman is, for even though the guy's disturbed,
right,
and there's a reason why he's doing what he's doing, but it's for the good. Tony Stark didn't really start out that way. He was selling weapons and doing whatever he wanted to do. But I think Batman's over, for me, Batman's over Iron Man still, and I think I can understand, and Superman's my favorite comic book character, I can understand why Captain America in some people's eyes, but I'm very curious to hear what you think.
Yeah, I don't think anything will ever replace Batman as the ultimate superhero. I mean, all these characters have gone through different iterations, and no one knew Captain America or Iron Man really were comparatively to Superman or Batman pre-2008. Once the MCU really kind of took effect, the cinematic universe, and kids now growing up love Captain America, I think more so than Superman, because Superman just hasn't had enough of that cinematic exposure yet, as Cap has already had like 6 or 7 giant global hits, as well as television series and cartoons. Superman has had all these cartoons, but not enough of that newer play. So that's why it was great to see that version, a different version in Supergirl. So I think Superman and Captain America can, be neck and neck, but for right now, it's Captain America's kind of winning out as far as like which character represents
more of a credit to what Marvel's been able to do with their movie cinematic universe, because I think it used to be Batman and Superman way up here and Iron Man and Captain America way down here. It's competitive now. I'm not sure who's winning out between Cap and Superman, but it's interesting to note that I think DC actually had the harder job here, because they had to reinvent characters that we had seen in iteration after iteration on screen already. We had never seen really a Captain America movie. Like they'd tried it before. We'd never really seen an Iron Man movie before, so they could pull from the comic book source material. They didn't have to change, so much of that stuff up. But because we had already gotten so many different iterations of Clark Kent, we saw him as Christopher Reeve playing the classic Superman. They had to switch it up a little bit. So where Captain America can still be the Cap, where I'm not going to swear, I'm going to be a Boy Scout. Superman had to start murdering people. He snaps necks now. Batman kills people. Batman murders people now because they had to change it up a little bit from what we already knew. So I give a lot of credit to DC for how hard their job was.
Jeremy?
Yeah, that's a really good point, that Captain America, this is our first shot at Cap, so it's fair to compare Steve Rogers that we have in the Marvel Cinematic Universe to Christopher Reeve's Superman. But I will say that you're going to see a lot more kids dressed as Captain America in comparative comparison to Superman, because Captain America's the good guy, and they're kids, and they come from a place where bad guys are bad, good guys are good, and he is the good guy of good. When you start getting into your teenage years on, you start gravitating towards heroes that have complexity and darkness and anger, and that is when Batman takes his hold in your teenage years and goes through your adulthood, because it's something that we relate to more as people, as opposed to when kids, when everything is black and white.
All right, what's next?
Donnie writes, "What's up, Collider crew? R2-D2 and C-3PO have been the one constant in every Star Wars movie thus far. Will Rogue One break that streak, or will we see our beloved droids next month? Thanks, you gals and guys are the best."
I think we're definitely going to see them in this movie, and I'll tell you why. Because it takes place it ends, from what the rumors are, is at 10, 15 minutes before Episode 4 begins. And I also think, we talked about it yesterday, it's going to end almost on a very, very sour note, because it looks like you assume everyone's going to get wiped out. So how do you end that going, oh my God, I'm just watched Manchester by the Sea, and now I saw this, I'm depressed. You go and you put the droids in, like you see them either entering the ship or you see them as the ship's about to get invaded from Vader. It ends with the droids, and then Episode 4 picks up with the droids. I think that's a perfect way to end Rogue One. So I'm gonna go ahead and guess and say that you're gonna see R2D2 and C-3PO in this movie. How do you feel?
You know, I saw a commercial. I forgot what the product was. It could be for Doritos or a car or something. I have no idea. But I remember they did it last year with The Force Awakens. They had Force Awakens-ish battles going down on this commercial. This one is Rogue One, and this girl dressed like Jyn Erso goes to R2 and says, "We have to get the plans to the princess." And I was like, wait, so is R2 in this movie now? It was a commercial that I feel like might have answered that for me. So I'm going to say, yeah, we're going to see the droids.
Schnepp?
Yeah, it makes sense. The plans have to be in R2D2,
right?
And he has to get on the Tantive 4 or 5. It's the fourth one, right? I don't think they ever showed the Tantive 5. Yeah, the droids have to be in there now we've logically made it make sense.
Yeah, it seems like Princess Leia and R2D2 had a previous relationship, because you're not going to give the Death Star plans to a droid you just met. It's like, oh, by the way, here's your droid. Oh, okay, here's the most valuable plans we've ever had. You probably have known that droid for a little bit, and R2D2 does not come without C-3PO. So yeah, you're going to see him towards the end. I'm not sure it's going to make us feel all warm and cuddly inside, because we just, we know what's going to happen on Alderaan, but it's going to be nice to see the boys back in action.
I would love a world where they learn from that mistake. They're like, we have to get the plans to the princess. Droid's like, hail the glorious empire. Just flies off like, well, never trust a droid you never met.
Right. All right. We said we're going to take some of your live Twitter questions, and Natasha has been going through a couple of them. Natasha, what'd you pick out?
No, it's actually Miss Wendy.
Sorry,
So
Wendy.
take it over.
Wendy, I apologize. I haven't done this in a while.
That's okay. All right, you've been sick, so you're forgiven.
Thank you.
Zach Sir says, my girlfriend and I saw Arrival, and she wants a sequel, which I disagree with. Any movies you love that you don't want sequels to?
Well, The Arrival, which we had a sequel to, which didn't have Charlie
Did we really
Sheen.
have a sequel?
There's a sequel to The Arrival, which I
That's
highly
horrible.
suggest you see. The Arrival with Charlie Sheen, another like global warming, nightmare movie, but made like 20 years ago.
How was the sequel?
Sequel's horrible.
Okay.
Yeah, I did watch it.
Good to know, yeah.
I know
bad.
there's been people have been asking him if he's going to do it, and there was talk about it, but I hope it does never happen. That's Inception. I think Inception ends perfectly. I like the way that it makes you think about it. I don't think we need, because then you'd have to answer the question. I love the debate of whether or not people still think what the hell happened to Cobb. So yeah, leave Inception alone, Mark.
The Dark Knight. That's just a perfect comic book movie. I hope they never make a sequel.
Mark,
I am told they actually tried to make a sequel to that one. It's fine. I'm going to go with Old School as a movie that I think is such a great comedy, and it's so funny, and you look at those three guys in their comedic prime. Why didn't they make more movies? I don't know why. I don't know why we didn't get an Old School sequel, but it's been a little too long, so I don't want to see them try to do it now, even though I would be there Thursday at midnight. I don't think they should make an Old School sequel.
Jeremy?
I would like to see an Arrival sequel about 3,000 years from now. But as for sequels that should movies that should never get sequels, I have a couple. Looper for sure. I think it's a closed loop, so to speak. And Interstellar, I think those are fine the way they are. I don't want to see sequels to either.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Blade Runner, don't make a sequel. Oh, wait a minute. It better be good.
I
That's
know.
all I can say.
Joke. All right, Wendy, what's next?
Mark Noop writes, last night I saw Fantastic Beasts. There were Death Eaters and free butterbeer. What are your favorite cinema experiences?
Oh, when you listen, I saw Ex Machina at this theater in Playa del Rey over here, which is a dine-in theater, and I had never been to one of those. And it was AMC. I went there, and I saw the movie, and it was like, I was wondering, because they have like waiters coming back and forth and serving you food. I'm like, is this going to be distracting? And it wasn't. It was glorious. Yeah. It was, and I loved the movie in general. It was my favorite movie of the year that year. But I think that it definitely enhanced the experience, because you could just. I stuffed my face with really good food. It was great. So that was my favorite theater experience. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, as someone who worked in a movie theater that did they served alcohol, they had the reclining seats. I've seen a lot of stuff. I don't want to say I've seen it all, but here there's an AMC. No, it wasn't the AMC. It was a theater where I saw Deepwater Horizon, and it had the Dolby Atmos speakers on the ceiling. That movie blew my fucking teeth out. When the sound hit, I was like, oh my God, I've never heard anything like that. So that's where you really need to grab me, is on picture quality and sound quality, and that was the best sound I've ever heard.
Let me tell you about my one and only D-Box experience. If you don't know what the hell D-Box is, it's you sit in a chair that has like 5 levels of torture, from 1 to like super Shaco.
1 to what?
1 to like that. So I saw Book of Eli,
Oh,
in,
wow.
in D-Box.
Yeah.
'Cause I was F it. I was
Right.
like, you know what was it, $5
Underrated
more?
movie.
Huh?
Underrated
It was
movie.
a good movie, but the D-Box people who programmed that, I don't know what the hell they were on, what kind of drugs, but they were like, anytime the camera would pan, they would like start tilting the chair. So I was like, why is it moving? Like, they'd be like, just, to emulate that moving pan. It's like, no, I don't need to rotate because the camera's, it's very weird.
Yeah.
But if you have something like a war film, definitely see it in D-Box because every single explosion is like, go, 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 go. So people are shooting. They have to decide, like, if, remember there was a couple of arrow shots in Book of Eli. The chair would literally move forward. And then,
I would
like,
pay
when it
so
would
much money to
impact.
watch you watching in D-Box.
That's right. D-Box is only once in a while.
Would you like to go see Sesame Street in D-Box?
You want a cookie?
Yes, Mark Ellis, I will go see Sesame Street with you.
If you're talking about the favorite food experience, it seems like that's where we're going here.
Yes.
If you get butterbeer, then we're talking about your best food at a movie theater ever. The birth of Fat Ellis happened in a movie theater. Is it The Wizard, the Fred Savage movie where the kid goes across the country in 1989 and he's like playing video games, and it was a birthday party we went, and all the kids like were ordering food and they're all getting popcorn, and I saw this other thing. I was like, wait, what is that? Nachos. My first experience with the liquidy gold goodness of nacho cheese at the movies. I never looked back. I gorged myself. I gained 500 pounds. That might be hyperbole.
I'm telling you, that would be me if it wasn't for those
The pretzel nubs.
pretzel nubs with
Yeah.
the cheese. They don't do it here anymore. When I went, I saw Creed in Philadelphia. They did it, and I had like 2 orders of it. It's like, fatten me up.
I will say, nacho cheese that never actually dries out and gets hard, stays liquid forever, is authentic cheese.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, let's do one more.
That's yummy. All right. One more. All right, I'm going to make this one a Schmodown question.
Okay.
Igor Didik says, what actor or director do you think has the best chance of beating the movie trivia monster Dan Murrell?
Kevin Smith. I think Kevin Smith would be pretty good. Someone that I want to get. I would love. People have been tweeting Kevin Smith to do Schmodown. Keep it up. I want to see him do it. I think it would be good. Tarantino, somebody I think would be pretty good in the Schmodown.
Yeah, it'd have to be someone with a lot of trivial knowledge. Because,
Scorsese would murder it.
Yeah, I will.
How do you think you do against Merle with comic book movies?
Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah.
I will say that there is a difference between being a great director, being good at your job, and being able to pull trivial knowledge from the recesses of your mind and being able to display it. Merle's good at that. Not a lot of people are as good.
Hey, I totally suck at it.
Yeah, I do.
As someone that has to go against Dan Merle pretty soon.
Well, no, I mean, that's the real question is what director can beat me in movie trivia?
very nice. I
Because
like
I'm going
that.
to beat Merle December 23rd, and then they'll have to tangle with me.
Damn.
The guy that would make me shake in my boots a little bit is J.J. Abrams. Because J.J. Abrams, he's a little bit of a younger buck. He's got the fresh brain cells. He's got the synapses still working. And he's steeped in a lot of the films that are categories on the wheel in round 2. J.J. is going to know his comic book movies. He's going to know his sci-fi fantasy. He certainly knows his Star Wars and Star Trek. Steven Spielberg's another guy simply because he's a pie slice on the wheel a lot. So if Steven Spielberg gets his own category, probably going to score a lot of points.
All right, guys, go over and tweet Kevin Smith. Tell him to be on the Schmodown. All right, that's everything that we have today on Movie Talk. I'd like to thank everybody that was at the table. First, Mr. Jon Schnepp, where can I find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter, Instagram, just at Jon Schnepp. At DesignerCon this weekend in Pasadena, definitely come on down. I'm at booth 804 and check out my Unicron statue.
The one and only Mr. Jeremy Jahns, where can they find you?
You can find me at Jeremy Jahns on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. You can find me here Monday through Thursday, 4 days a week. You can find me at the Sesame Street premiere with Mark Ellis.
And merely Mark Ellis, where can they find you?
We're totally going to the Sesame Street premiere together in matching trench coats this weekend. You can find me at the Comedy Store down south in La Jolla. It's just north of San Diego. I'm doing Friday and Saturday shows. Looking forward to it. How about you, shit rats? I guess they don't like when I plug comedy gigs. Okay, well.
And for me, you can find me at Kristian Harloff on Twitter and Instagram, but I want to make sure that we also follow the ladies. Ladies, Miss Natasha Martinez, where can I find you?
You can find me far away from Ellis and Jeremy Jahns at the Sesame Street premiere, but you can also find me on Twitter and Instagram at @NatashaLexis_.
Wendy Lee.
You can find me on YouTube at the Movie Couple channel and on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat at Wendy Lee Zaney.
And you can find Jedi Council once again today at 5 p.m. Make sure you check that out. And tomorrow, the ranking special for the Schmodown. John Campea will be back on Monday for Movie Talk for sure. So make sure you follow him, tell him to get better, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.